Okay, I guess I'll get started. So, hi everybody, I'm Eran. I'm responsible for our elimination or our patch management solution. And in those next 15 minutes, I'm gonna take you through what we've been doing for the last year and what we're gonna do. And basically most of my time I'll spend with a nice demo. So hopefully it will be interesting for you guys. But I think what's important to understand is the knowledge of risk is not what we're trying to achieve. What we are trying to achieve is actually fixing the risk, eliminating the risk. And the challenges that we all have are same as before. I don't think those changed a lot in the last few years, right? There's always the friction between IT and the security team. There's always the time it takes for IT to actually deploy those patches and fix those vulnerabilities. And there's always those IT team that tells you, I cannot deploy anything right now because things will break. Wait, I can't do anything right now. That repeats itself, but our job here is to help you get rid of this risk, okay, and help you get much more efficient in doing that. And even if you're guys security and you're not the IT team that actually deploys those patches, those tools, the data that we have here will help you and your IT be much more efficient. So let's take this graph as a simple example to illustrate my point. So if you can, and I think we showed this graph before, but you can see here after 30 days, those are talking about CISA vulnerabilities and how fast they are actually fixed by customers, okay? So after 30 days, we're about 81%. So one CISA, and again, CISA, it can be the NCIS or any other marquee vulnerability. It takes about 30 days to get to until you get to the long tail. So two things we can learn from that. One, we need to respond fast. But there is a reason why we have a long tail, right? It's not because most likely there's no patch for it or you don't have the right tool to patch. Usually this long tail is because you cannot patch. You cannot deploy the fix. Something happened. There's a mission critical application. You cannot touch it. There's some reason you cannot actually deploy the fix. This is a great example why you need alternative to patch, why you need to mitigate, why you need to find something instead of deploying a patch. You want to address this long tail, okay? So what is True Risk Eliminate? It starts by patch management, okay? Just the last year, we deployed 100 million patches. You guys deployed, not us, with our solution. So this is a solution that is used by many of you guys and many of our customers worldwide, and it's used by many customers to remediate vulnerabilities. So that's part of the True Risk Eliminate umbrella. But you can see there's another item there, fix vulnerability that do not have a patch. So we're not only focusing on providing you the patches, we are now actually finding the vulnerabilities that do not have a patch at all. There's no patch. And we're giving you the solution for that. If it's a configuration change, if it's uninstall, anything that you need to do to actually fix the vulnerability and get rid of it. Now, the beauty here, our team are building those fixes, and our team are actually testing those features against our signatures. So the next time we run a scan, the vulnerability will not be there. So that's your first value here, okay? Not only the patches, but also the fixes. I'll show in a demo. Win Verify Trust is a great example. Second thing is mitigate. If you cannot deploy the patch, if your IT team says patch cannot be deployed, here's the reason, but doesn't matter what the reason is. We'll provide you mitigation, alternative to patch. Again, our research team are doing the work. They're researching those vulnerabilities. They're exploiting those vulnerabilities, and they're finding mitigation for those vulnerabilities. So you can deploy the mitigation directly from our console. They can deploy it, your IT team can. Once the mitigation is deployed, automatically you can see the result in VMDR. So the vulnerability will be marked as mitigated. So you know when you run your reports, when you run your compliance report, you'll see the vulnerability is actually being taken care of. Something completely new. Up until now, we said if you want to patch, you need our agent. We're expanding our platform, and now what we're saying is you can still use our agent, but if you have SCCM or other tools, you'll be able to use those tools to deploy those fixes. Why it's so important? If your team are using SCCM, Intune, all those tools, your IT team, and they say to you, we just use this tool, it's the best tool in the world. You can still get all the value from Eliminate, and I'll show you in the demo. How? Okay, you can still get all the value, and still your IT team can use their SCCM and Intune tools. Furthermore, we're expanding it outside of SCCM, and you'll see in the demo in a second. Customized to your need. That's something I need to show you. But now with Eliminate, you're not only confined to what we provide out of the box, but you can create your own mitigation, your own remediation, and we provide you a large library of script that you can use to remediate risk and address risk, more generic risk. Okay, for example, how many of you have installed, your user installed Chrome or Zoom in user space and you cannot patch it? We'll give it a script to remove it from user space, install it in a system space. Okay, all those things, part of a library, you don't have to learn how to write scripts, it's ready for you. Last but not least, if you guys cannot do all of those things, you would like to isolate, or you may want to isolate the device from the network. Okay? What does it mean? It means that we take the device off the network so nobody else can exploit the vulnerability. But the Qualys agent and whatever agent that you guys have on this box can still communicate. Okay, so you can set exception. So the device is isolated, no bad guy can exploit any vulnerability, but still you can communicate with this device. So that's the beauty of isolation. Now you probably say to yourself, but I have an EDR solution that can do isolation. Why do I need Qualys? First of all, you get it as part of Eliminate, so it's free, or part of free, but the reason you want to use us is once you isolate with us, we will mark all those vulnerabilities as mitigated in VMDR, meaning every vulnerability that is found on this isolated device will be marked as mitigated because nobody can exploit this vulnerability anymore. The vulnerability are not fixed, they're there, but they are mitigated. So mitigating with us will allow you to reflect it back in VMDR. Now let's talk about the demo that we're going to do quickly. Oh, no, not just a second, if you can go back. Because I want to talk about what we're going to do. I want to simulate something that all of you in this room are doing. All of you are running vulnerability scans. You're taking those vulnerabilities and you prioritize them, and then you assign them to a remediation team. And if you're not doing it, I assume that at least some version of it you're doing. You're assigning it to the team that's actually responsible to do the fix, the IT team, the application team. Those teams will deploy the fix, deploy the patch, and at the end, you run a compliance report to make sure that they did your job. So let's see how we can do it with a demo, and if I can switch to the demo now. Okay. So let's start. So I'm in VMDR now, okay? What I'm doing here, I'm prioritizing vulnerabilities. So here are the vulnerabilities that I prioritize. I'm not going to go over the prioritization. I just want to make sure we all understand we are prioritizing the vulnerability that we want to solve on a specific application for a specific application owner. This is not prioritized for everything. We find the vulnerability that one of our application owner needs to fix. And here's the list. But actually, my demo starts here. When I select all those vulnerabilities and I select this new eliminate feature. So let's see where we are right now. We basically switch hats. We switch from a security hat to an IT operational application owner hat. It doesn't have to be you. It can be your IT counterpart. But here are the vulnerabilities on the left side that now you assign to this guy. So instead of sending a ticket, instead of sending an email, instead of asking him to go to a widget and figure out what to do, here's the list of what he needs to do. Now you'll be able to send a link directly to that. Okay, so basically you give your application owner, here's a link, click on this link, here's what you guys need to solve. Now when your application owner goes here, he will only see that, that's all. Only what he's responsible for. So here are the vulnerabilities that he's responsible for. Here's the risk, and you can see the assets in the middle that this guy is responsible for. But what's more important is the remediation and mitigation columns. Remediation are patches, mitigation are alternative to patch. So again, now we give this guy, that's what I call the remediation cockpit. We give him the option how he can actually address those vulnerabilities. So let's take an example. Let's scroll down and find one of those vulnerabilities that we want to focus on. And it's going to be an older vulnerability from June last year. And you can see I have two options. I have a patch. This is patch management. This is the latest patch. He can just go ahead from here and test and deploy it. Okay, so he can just do it. Or alternatively, if he cannot patch this device, there's no reason I cannot patch it. Now, what we're offering here is if you disable this wireless LAN, the vulnerability will go away. Okay, just disable the wireless LAN, and he can do it directly from us, from here. He can actually disable the wireless LAN. Remember, this guy is responsible for those assets, so he knows what he's doing. Another benefit here, all the actions that we provide as mitigation are very easy to roll back. Meaning, if something happens, you can, by a click of a button, just roll back. Much easier than rolling back a patch. But no, it's not you, it's the IT guy that can actually click on the button and make the changes. Now, once he applied this wireless LAN, and by the way, before I go there, think about it for a second. If that's a server, you do not need a wireless LAN on the server. So disabling the wireless LAN have no operational risk. So it's really safe to actually take those mitigation instead of deploying the patch. So let's switch back to VMDR, and you can see when I look at all this vulnerability that has been mitigated, you'll see that those will be marked as mitigated. You can see the first one, it is marked as mitigated. It's still open, but is actually mitigated. And you can see the risk has been reduced. So if I drill down into that, it says it's been reduced from higher number to 15. So that's really important because once we apply the mitigation, you guys will see it in your reports, okay, immediately. Let's go back to our remediation cockpit. Now let's look at another option. So let's take this WinVerify Trust guy. There's no patch for WinVerify Trust. You can use SCCM, Intune, whatever solution you use, you will never be able to patch it. There's simply no patch. How do we solve it? There's a PowerShell script that you can run. Our team wrote those PowerShell scripts. They're ready for you. It's just clicking a button, we'll deploy it, and the vulnerability will go away. Okay? So everything now is mapped. So that's the main thing that I want you to take from this view. We're taking all the vulnerabilities and we're mapping it to what you can do to solve them. Let's go very quickly because I don't have a lot of time left. We've talked about isolation before. I do want to show you a few more cool things so we can do it quickly. Part of Eliminate is, as I said, a library of scripts. So let's go there and you'll see all the library of scripts. You'll get some ideas of what scripts that you provide. As I said, remove a Chrome from user space, putting in system space. Remove all Java folders that you have. Everything is ready for you to deploy. So those will help you remediate many vulnerabilities that are just flagged because you forgot things. Okay, let's stop here for a second. So we're back to our remediation console, the remediation cockpit. Now, this is a future. This is the roadmap. Now what I'm showing you here again, I'm selecting one of those vulnerabilities, and I want to understand how I can fix them. One of the options here, you can see I want to address this 2020 vulnerability. One of the options here, and this is actually a new UI, is to integrate with other solutions. And this is something very, very important. We may not be able to give you all the mitigation for everything, but you may have an IPS solution, a Cisco box, a EDR box, something in your environment that can mitigate the vulnerability, the specific vulnerability. We are integrating with those guys, and we will give you the option. So in this case, we'll tell you, you have checkpoint, you can enable a specific signature on checkpoint to make sure this vulnerability goes away. You still use the same console. You still manage it from the same place, but now you can integrate with your other solutions. Last but not least, we've talked about integration with SCCM and Intune. How does it look like? Again, we're in our remediation console, but now I don't want to deploy those fixes with the agent, with Qualys agent. I want to import it, export it into SCCM. So I just select the vulnerability that I want to address, and I choose my option to create an SCCM job. This will actually create me an SCCM job, and we have a plugin for SCCM. That's going to be ready very soon, so if you need it, talk to me after the session. I can actually give you access to that. Once you export it to SCCM, we have an SCCM plugin. This is SCCM, for those of you who are familiar with it. I'm less familiar. But that's a recording of SCCM. You can actually import the file that we exported from Qualys, and it will create everything that you need for your IT guys to go ahead and fix. Now, the details here are less important. What's important here is the workflow. You guys are prioritizing the vulnerabilities for your application owner, your IT team. Your IT team will get the list of what you prioritize, and your IT team will decide, do I want to deploy mitigation with Qualys, or do I want to use my SCCM? If it chooses to use SCCM, it can integrate with SCCM. We'll provide SCCM all the content. We'll tell SCCM, here's the patches that you need, here's the asset that you need to solve, here's the mitigation that you need to apply. Okay, we are enriching SCCM with this data, and your IT team will use SCCM to actually do the deployment. Make sense? Okay, and with that, I think we're just 1 minute past our time. So I'd like to thank everybody. Thank you very much.